Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this motion. I would like to thank Honorable Waluke for bringing up this motion. Honorable Speaker, this motion has been brought in good time for us to assess ourselves as a country and to ask ourselves very honest and very difficult questions. Why has the trade deficit been enlarging instead of reducing? And why has Kenya lost most of our quotas to the world market? Honorable Speaker, one of the 5 ways a country can create money or make revenue is through trade. And as long as we are buying a lot more than selling, Honorable Speaker, we are not making a lot of money. Not for the country and not for the individuals within a country. So we need to look at the measures that we could use to reduce trade deficit so that as a country we can also make money like the other countries have done. One of the things we should be learning, Honorable Speaker, is why did some countries, like countries in Asia, perform so well while we were at the same level in the early 70s? They have been able to organize their economies, and they have been able to be honest to themselves, and they have been able to do what is required of them to continue being in the world market. Honorable Speaker, it does not cost anything to be in the world market, and it's not rocket science to be in the world market. I would like to give a very specific example of rice in Mwea. The Mwea farmers are producing rice on the farm. They are processing rice right at Mwea, and they are selling at the world market prices. That is a classical example of what we should do with all the commodities so that we may sell our commodities across the board. Honorable Speaker, we lost quotas as a country, and we are not ashamed, and we should in the world market. We lost our coffee quota. We were selling 120,000 metric tons of coffee to the world market. We lost our beef quota. We have lost our pyrethrum quota, where we were commanding 70% of the world market. And we are leaving these commodities to other countries. A country like Rwanda, which is a small country compared to our country, is now almost leading in pyrethrum production. Why doesn't our pyrethrum industry perform? It is because of the individuals who are involved in managing this. And we would like serious intervention from the government to make sure that the individuals charged with the responsibilities of managing commodities do what is supposed to be done so that these commodities are managed in the best way possible. Honorable Speaker, when we make a decision as a country to rely on imports and not exports, when we deny our people an opportunity to produce what they are capable of producing, when we do not ask ourselves when do we have a comparative advantage and competitive advantage so that we may be able to produce for the world market, we make mistakes. And we have made enough mistakes as a country. The first mistake we have made is remained small in production all through. Other countries in Asia have been able to consolidate their land. They have been able to cause regions in terms of endemic zones or production zones. They know where to produce rice in large amounts. They know where to produce mangoes in large amounts. They know where to produce bananas in large amounts. Honorable Speaker, if you ask any technocrats in this country how much, for instance, bananas we produce, how many metric tons of bananas we produce, they will not be able to tell you. So we may not be able to invest in processing so that we can sell these commodities out. And that is one of the things that we need to do. We need to reorganize our agriculture to the processing so that even the big 4 can be achieved as an agenda. Honorable Speaker, this country is endowed with a lot of potentialities. We have almost all the agroecological zones that can be found anywhere. There are some countries which are half of the year they are cold and icy, and the other half of the year they are hot and warm and hot. And these countries are able to manage their climate, they are able to manage their production systems to be able to deliver to the world market as they feed their people. We are a country 56 years down the line, we are not able to feed our own people. A very small population of 47 or 48 million people, we are not able to feed. We should actually be ashamed, Honorable Speaker. And one of the reasons is that we let our potentials go. We let our coffee go. Our coffee quota in the world market was lost. We have lost our beef quota. We have lost pyrethrum. We have lost others. We are now relying on cut flowers. And I would like to say, Honorable Speaker, that we are being overtaken by Ethiopia as we watch, because there are many things that we need to do, and we are not doing them. So we need to manage our economy in a way that we should be focusing to sell our things in the world market. We need to teach our farmers to be able to produce to sell in the world market. We need farmers who are competitive producers, not farmers who are producing for their survival. What we have in this country, Honorable Speaker, are people who are trying to survive through producing both carbohydrates and proteins. You will find somebody has chicken, somebody has goats, somebody has sheep, somebody has poultry, somebody has everything, and in growing all the crops on a very small piece of land. That, Honorable Speaker, is not a farmer. That one is somebody who is trying to practice some magic. I think we need to categorize our farmers very carefully and register them so that we know in Zone A, these are dairy producers and they are only producing milk. And then we locate our technocrats with these areas so that they can be able to support them to produce. We may not be able to sell in the world market if we are not competitive. Competitiveness has got to do with cost reduction. And the cost reduction is based on the size of production. If the size of production is small, the cost will be high. And if the cost is high, we cannot sell anywhere. We can only leave these people to feed themselves. More often than not, we find ourselves importing products that we could actually produce. Let us look at an industry called oilseed industry. We have deliberately, as a country and through policy measures, killed our oilseed industry. The farmers who could survive on oilseed industry thrive on nothing else. I mean, they try something else, something different. We can produce simsim, we can produce sunflower, we can produce all oilseeds in this country. But as a policy decision, we import. We spend more than $47 billion importing oilseeds into this country, instead of our farmers benefiting from this kind of money. We should be able to focus on supporting our smallholder. People say this is expensive, but we have the best technocrats. We have the Karo system with all the scientists in this country who can be able to come up with varieties and genetic material that is cheaper for Kenyans to produce, even in arid area, in asal areas. And we are not focusing a lot on this. We are relying, we have left our farmer to survive on his own somehow. Our idea is that the farmer will survive anyway, and that is very wrong. Agriculture is not a priority in this country. If I look at 2018, 2017, 2018 budget, agriculture was number 11 in terms of funding. And when I talk about agriculture, I don't want to talk about infrastructure and others as they try to relate them and saying they contribute somehow to the agricultural sector. Africa took a decision in 2003, and our president signed what is called the Maputo Protocol. The Maputo Protocol presupposed that by 2008, 5 years down the line, the African countries will have supported the agriculture with not less than 10% of their budget. Those who have done that have grown. They are growing at more than 12%. They are growing at 2 digits. Those others like us who are lagging behind, the laggards, are still waiting. We cannot feed ourselves. And we cannot talk about exporting when we are not even able to feed ourselves. Honourable Speaker, we can talk about industrialization until the cows come back home in the evening. And we will never do this. Unless we consolidate our raw materials, we have deliberate decisions of how to produce and systems of producing. We have transformation measures and what we call a revolution. The other countries grew because they had agrarian reforms. Agrarian reforms were forms of revolution, agricultural revolution. They revolutionized their agriculture. When we read about the Tennessee Valley Authority, what were they doing? What do we get as a people, as technocrats of this country? We do not borrow those lessons and try them out here. We borrow those lessons and they stay with us. And when we retire, we kill those lessons. We travel this world and we learn.